In the deadliest depths of World War II, a terrifying question haunted the Allies. How were U-boats finding their targets with such impossible precision? The answer lay hidden within a machine, a puzzle with 159 quintillion combinations, deemed unbreakable. But one British professor was about to prove them all wrong. Stay tuned. October 16th, 1941, 2:17 a.m., the North Atlantic, 400 miles south of Iceland. You are able Seaman Thomas Reeves, sonar operator, aboard the His Majesty's corvette Gladiolus. The air in your tiny metal booth is frigid, thick with the smell of diesel oil, cold steel, and stale sweat. For 10 hours, your world has been nothing but the hypnotic ping of the ASDIC echolocation and the scream of the wind. You are the blind watchman, the guardian of 40 merchant ships convoy SC-48, carrying the food, the fuel, the very blood of Britain's survival. Your ship is a tiny, 900-ton flower-class corvette rolling violently in the 30-foot swell. You are, to put it mildly, hopelessly outmatched. And then, you hear it. It's not the sharp, clean buoying of the echo bouncing off a friendly hull. This is a faint, mushy thrum. A vibration more than a sound. Propellers, deep, fast. You grab the voice pipe, your throat suddenly dry. Sonar to bridge, contact bearing green 20, range 1,800 yards, moving fast. The bridge erupts. The captain, a man you've only ever seen look bored, screams for full ahead and a hard turn to port. But it's too late. Out in the darkness, Captain Lieutenant Erich Top of U-552 has already given his order. Torpedo, loss. 4 miles away, the merchant freighter SS Silversader vaporizes. A column of fire punches a hole in the night sky, illuminating the horrific scene. 40 ships, scattered like panicked sheep. And they are not alone. Contact! Starboard 4-5! Reeves shouts. Another contact! Aston! Sir! They're everywhere! This is not a lone hunter. This is a Rudel tactic, a wolfpack. U-552. U-568. U-432. A coordinated, perfectly timed ambush. In the next 48 hours, this single wolfpack will sink 9 ships from convoy SC-48 and damage 4 more. 1,700 men will die. The question isn't just how they did it. The question is how they knew. How did 5 separate U-boats, scattered across 100 miles of open ocean, all converge on this one exact patch of water, at this one exact time? The answer wasn't on the water. It was in the airwaves. It came in a stream of perfectly encrypted, utterly meaningless gibberish, broadcast from German High Command in Berlin. It was a message, sent using a machine that looked, to the untrained eye, like a glorified typewriter, a commercial gadget, a child's puzzle box. This was the Enigma. But this puzzle was a monster. When a German operator pressed the letter T, an electrical current shot through a maze of wires. It passed through a plug board that looked like an old telephone exchange, swapping T for, say, K. Then K entered a set of 3, spinning rotors. The first rotor turned K into G, the second turned G into W. The third turned W into R. R hit a reflector, which sent it back through the 3 rotors in reverse, changing it again and again and again, before it finally shot out of the plug board and lit up the letter P. The next time the operator pressed T, the first rotor clicked 1 position forward, and the entire, fiendishly complex path changed. The next T might become an X. The next, a B. The number of possible settings for this puzzle was not in the thousands or the millions. With its spinning rotors, interchangeable cores, and reconfigurable plug board, the Enigma machine had 159 quintillion possible combinations. That is a number so vast, it is meaningless. If you gave 10,000 people 10,000 Enigma machines, and they each tried 1 setting every second, 24 hours a day, it would take them longer than the entire age of the universe to find the right one. The Germans knew this. They trusted Enigma implicitly. Reichsmarshal Hermann Göring called it unbreakable. And for the British Admiralty, staring at the mounting shipping losses, he was right. They could hear the German Messageser constant, mocking hiss of encrypted chatter. They knew the wolfpacks were talking. They knew orders were being given. But it was all noise, a locked box without a key. Every ping of the sonar, every torpedo in the water, every ship disappearing beneath the waves, was a testament to this single, mechanical, unbreakable wall. To win the war, Britain didn't just need bigger guns or faster ships. It needed someone who could solve the impossible. It needed a new kind of mind. It needed, as it turned out, a professor. August 1939, Bletchley, Buckinghamshire. The sound is not of war. It is of birds, lawnmowers, and the distant thwack of a tennis ball. The location is Station X, a top-secret government signals intelligence site hidden behind the most boring disguise imaginable, a sprawling, red-brick Victorian mansion. This is the nerve centre of Britain's secret war, and its soldiers are unusual. They are not soldiers at all. They are classic scholars who can read 5th century BCE Greek. They are crossword puzzle champions who can finish the Times cryptic in under 6 minutes. They are debutantes, recruited for their quick minds and, crucially, their ability to keep a secret. They are, as one wag put it, the strangest collection of minds since the Tower of Babel. And then there is Alan Turing. Even here, among the brilliant and the bizarre, Turing is an outlier. A professor, as the others call him partly out of respect, mostly because he is one, a fellow at Cambridge, a man who lives in a world of abstract logic and pure mathematics. He is a terrible runner, all flailing limbs and pained expressions. But he runs everywhere, often in that gas mask, which he wears not out of fear of an attack, but because he suffers from hay fever, and he's calculated it's the most efficient pollen filter available. He is the man who chains his tea mug to the radiator pipes in the canteen, not because he fears theft, but because he fears the cleaners will take it, and he cannot be bothered to find another. He is shy, stammers when he's nervous, and prefers the company of equations to people, and he has just been handed the 159 quintillion piece puzzle. You are now inside Hut 8, the centre of the naval Enigma effort. It is not a high-tech bunker. It is, quite literally, a wooden shed. It is cold, damp, and smells of wet wool, pipe tobacco, and boiled cabbage from the canteen. Here, teams of codebreakers sit at long wooden tables, drowning in paper. They are staring at intercepted German messages, endless strings of letters. They are looking for human error. A lazy operator who uses his girlfriend's initials CIL as his 3-letter rotor setting. An operator who, bored, just taps LLL. These tiny human flaws are the only cracks in the machine's armour. They call them killies. But sillies are rare. And finding one doesn't give you the key, it just gives you a clue. Turing isn't looking for sillies. He's looking at the machine itself. He knows something crucial. They are not starting from scratch. Just weeks before the invasion of Poland, a small group of Polish mathematicians geniuses named Marian Rejewski, Henryk Zygalski, and Jerzy Rojicki had achieved the first impossible break. They had reverse-engineered the military Enigma from its commercial cousin. They had built their own Enigmas. More than that, they had built a machine to attack it. They called it the Bombe, a clattering, 6-engine electromechanical device designed to find the daily rotor settings. But the Germans, ever paranoid, had upgraded. Just before the war, they added 2 new rotors to the standard 3, increasing the permutations exponentially. And they dramatically complicated the plugboard. The Polish Bombe was now obsolete. The intellectual ground they had gained was gone. The wall was higher than ever. The other codebreakers are trying to find the message. Turing is trying to find the settings. He knows you can't think your way through 159 quintillion options. You can't use a pencil. You can't even use 1,000 people with 1,000 pencils. His great, singular, earth-shattering insight is this. You must use the machine's own logic against it. He's not thinking about language. He's thinking about contradictions. What if you have a guess? A tiny, probable piece of text. The codebreakers call it a crib. You know that almost every German message starts with a weather report, Wetter, weather, or ends with Heil Hitler. What if you assume a piece of the encrypted message says Wetter? Turing asks, if W becomes K on this setting and E becomes W, what does that imply about the machine's wiring? He follows the logical chain. If W is K and T is J, then this wire cannot be connected to that rotor, and that rotor cannot be in this position. He realizes that if your crib is long enough, the machine will eventually contradict itself. If W is K and T is J, and R is D, then T must also be P. Wait, T cannot be both J and P, therefore, this setting is wrong. This rotor combination, Turing realizes, is impossible. This is the key. You don't have to search for the one right answer. You just have to build a machine that can, very, very quickly, find all the wrong ones. A machine that can test thousands of settings a second, looking only for that single, logical contradiction. He is not designing a code-breaking machine. He is designing a contradiction-finding machine, an engine of pure, brutal, high-speed logic. It is a machine that does not yet exist. It is a machine he must now build, here in this damp, wicker-walled hut, with the fate of every convoy in the Atlantic depending on it. He calls it, in his dry, academic way, the Bombe. The idea is one thing, a diagram of pure logic on a piece of paper. Building it is another. Alan Turing is a mathematician. He can build a proof, but he cannot build a machine. He deals in theoretical gears, not physical ones. His design is less a blueprint and more a dare. He is asking for a device that can perform thousands of logical operations per second, a speed no machine in 1940 can even approach. He needs relays that can flip faster than a hummingbird's wing, wiring so complex it would look like a god's own nervous system. He needs an engineer. He finds him in Letchworth, at the British Tabulating Machine Company. His name is Harold Doc Keane. Keane is everything Turing is not. He is a practical, grounded, senior engineer. He wears a suit, not rumpled flannels. He builds machines for processing census data, for accounting, for business. His world is one of brass fittings, electrical relays, and graphite grease. Turing arrives, clutching his bundle of papers, and tries to explain his contradiction-finding engine to a man who builds glorified adding machines. Turing isn't just asking for one Enigma machine. He is asking Keane to build a machine that can test the logical output of dozens of Enigmas, all at the same time, all wired together in parallel. He needs, in effect, a factory of logic. The scale is staggering. The first attempt, codenamed Victory, is a bronze-colored monster, a 7-foot-tall, 7-foot-wide box of raw engineering. Inside, it holds not 3 rotors, but 108. It is a spider's web of over 100 miles of wire, connecting more than 10,000 soldered joints. It doesn't work. It's too slow. The relays jam. The logic is sound, but the execution is a brute force nightmare. It takes hours to test a single setting, and the U-boats are changing their settings every 24 hours. The team in Hut 8 is desperate. Every day, the intercepts pile up, gibberish, useless. While out in the Atlantic, the convoys burn. Turing is stuck. His logical engine is too weak. It finds so many possible settings that it's just as bad as finding none. It needs to be smarter. And the solution comes not from Turing, but from another mathematician who walks into his office. His name is Gordon Welchman. He, too, has been staring at the Enigma, and he's noticed a different flaw. A simple, almost childish one. On the Enigma's plug board, a letter can be swapped for any other letter. A can become P. B can become L. But there is one thing a letter can never do. It can never be swapped for itself. A can never be A. It seems trivial. A footnote. But Welchman, like Turing, sees the world in pure logic. He realizes this simple, unbreakable rule can be weaponized. He proposes a new piece of hardware, a pre-wired grid that will be bolted onto the back of Turing's Bombe. It's an if-then engine. It assumes if A is plugged to P, It can then instantly check that assumption against every other letter in the crib. This is the diagonal board, and it is the turbocharger Turing's engine needed. It doesn't just check one chain of logic. It checks all of them, at the same time, feeding its own conclusions back into itself in a spectacular loop of electrical deduction. It will find a contradiction not in minutes, but in milliseconds. Now, the real Bombe is born. This isn't a single machine. It's a whole new building, Hut 11, the Bombe room, and it is filled with them. Black, monolithic cabinets, each named after a British warship Agamemnon, Warspite, Iron Duke. They are operated, almost exclusively, by the young women of the Women's Royal Naval Service. The Wrens. They don't know what they're doing. They are simply told, plug this cable here, set these 3 drums to these letters. Now, turn it on. And the noise begins. This is the sound of war's new engine. The rapid-fire clatter of thousands of relays, the high-speed whir of the replicated Enigma drums spinning, testing, setting after setting after setting. It is the sound of 159 quintillion possibilities being hunted to extinction. The Wren's job is to listen for one sound, and one sound only. Silence. The machine has stopped. It has found a setting where there is no contradiction, a possible key. The Wren, her hands trembling slightly, steps up to the front of the Bombe. She reads the letters off the 3 indicator drums, Q, K, R. She writes the settings on a slip of paper, plugboard, A to P, G to L. She hands the slip to a runner, who sprints it across the dark, rain-soaked quad to the Codebreakers in Hut 8. He takes the day's first intercepted message. The one that began KZJ pod. He types the letters into the Enigma. He presses K. The W light flashes. He presses Z. The E light flashes. He presses J. The T light flashes. He presses P. The T light flashes. He presses O. The ER. His fingers fly faster. WETTER. Weather. He grabs the phone to the Admiralty. For the first time, the wall is broken. The call is made. Sir, we're in. The moment is electric. A cheer erupts from the exhausted, sleepless Codebreakers. For a single, glorious minute, the impossible is real. The wall is down. And then, a new, cold terror sets in. They haven't just decrypted one message. They have found the Tageschlüssel, the day key. They have found the settings for the entire German Navy's Enigma network for a full 24 hours. What was a trickle of gibberish is now a deluge. The intercepts, which had piled up for weeks, are now an avalanche of raw, actionable intelligence. The entire operation at Bletchley Park pivots on its axis. The problem is no longer breaking the code. The problem is reading it. The center of gravity shifts from the mathematicians in Hut 8 to the translators and analysts in Hut 4, the naval section. You are now in the Zimmer-Mädchen room, a name given to the female translators by their male colleagues. It is a sea of desks, tea mugs, and ashtrays. Here, the decrypted messages still in German, still full of naval jargon, grid references, and technical abbreviations must be turned into meaning. A message reads, Bedienst berichtet, convoy HX 150 inches, quadrat AJ 68, Kurs 270, Naval Intelligence reports. Convoy HX 150 inches, grid square, AJ 68, course 270. Another, U 552. Brennstoff 40 cubic meter. Torpedoes Zwei. Befehl zum Rückmarsch. U 552. Fuel 40 cubic meters. Torpedoes 2. Ordered to return to base. This is the enemy's entire order of battle. It is Kapitänleutnant Top's fuel status. It is Admiral Donitz's plan for his wolfpacks. It is, quite simply, the enemy's mind, laid bare on a piece of paper. This fire hose of information is given a new, higher classification. It is not top secret, it is ultra, a secret known only to a handful of people in the entire Allied command. And with this godlike knowledge comes an immediate, agonizing dilemma. You now know, with certainty, that convoy SC-49 is sailing directly into the path of a 5 U-boat wolfpack. You know the attack is scheduled for 3 tomorrow. What do? If you radio the convoy's commodore, hard turn to starboard, U-boat pack dead ahead, you save the convoy. You save 1,000 lives, and you lose the war. The German High Command is not stupid. If a convoy, in the middle of the Atlantic, in total radio silence, suddenly and perfectly evades a trap it cannot see, they will not assume it was bad luck. They will assume, instantly, that Enigma is broken. They will add the 4th rotor. They will change the plugboard procedure. They will change the machine. And in 24 hours, the lights will go out. The wall will go back up, this time made of granite. And the convoys will begin to burn again, only this time, you will be blind. This is the terrible new burden of Ultra. You cannot act on what you know. A new, complex, and cynical game must be played. The information must be laundered. You cannot just tell the destroyer where the U-boat is. You must invent a reason for it to be there. So, an RAF Coastal Command plane is ordered on a routine patrol over grid square AJ-68. When it accidentally spots U-552 on the surface, it drops its depth charges and radios the position. Then, and only then, can the destroyers be vectored in for the kill. You have to create a cover story for every single piece of intelligence you use. Sometimes, the cover story isn't believable. Sometimes, there is no plane available. And sometimes, to protect this priceless golden goose, you have to let the U-boat go. You have to let the attack happen. You have to let the ship sink, even when you know its name, its cargo, and the exact hour of its death. The professor and his team of mathematicians in Hut 8 had solved the logic puzzle. Now, the admirals and the Prime Minister himself, Winston Churchill, had to solve the moral one. And all of it, the lives of the Wrens, the analysts, and the sailors in the Atlantic depended on the work of Turing's clattering, noisy, electromechanical Bombe, which was already becoming obsolete. Because the Germans, paranoid as ever, were about to make the puzzle even harder. February 1st, 1942, 4 a.m. You are a Wren in Hut 11, working the graveyard shift. Your machine, Agamemnon, has been running on the same menu, the same set of cribbed letters, for 8 solid hours. The air is hot, thick with the smell of ozone and hot oil. Your job is to wait for the stop, the beautiful, triumphant click of silence. But it doesn't come. It's not just Agamemnon. All down the line, Warspite, Iron Duke, Vengeance, the bombs are chattering uselessly. They are testing, and finding nothing. The day key is gone. By 6 a.m., the shift changes. The day shift Wrens arrive, and the night shift leaves with a shared, dreadful look. Not a single Bombe has stopped. Not one. In Hut 8, the mathematicians stare at the empty in tray. The radio intercept stations are still flooding them with paper, but it's all gibberish again. The pipeline of Ultra is dry. Alan Turing, Gordon Welchman, and the head of the naval section, Frank Birch, stand around an Enigma machine. They have tried the sillies. They have tried the most common rotor settings. They have tried everything. Bletchley Park, the all-seeing eye of Allied intelligence, is blind. The Germans had done the one thing they all feared. They had changed the machine. The new U-boat network, code-named Triton by the Germans, was now using a new Enigma. One with a 4th rotor, a Zusatzwalzer, positioned between the reflector and the other 3. To the Codebreakers, it was a nightmare. They called the new network Shark. The addition of one single, extra wheel did not just add a new layer of complexity, it multiplied it. The number of possible keys didn't just double or triple. It exploded by a factor of 26. Turing's bombs, the magnificent contradiction engines, were built on 3-rotor logic. They were now, overnight, obsolete. A room full of clattering, 7-foot-tall paperweights. This was not a setback. This was a catastrophe. And the cost of this blackout was not measured in frustrated equations. It was measured in blood and fire. They called it the Second Happy Time. With America now in the war, the German U-boats, guided by their unbreakable shark cipher, crossed the Atlantic. They found a coastline utterly unprepared for war. The cities New York, Boston, Miami were not blacked out. They were ablaze with light. Merchant ships, sailing with their lights on, were silhouetted against the shore like targets in a carnival shooting gallery. This was Operation Drumbeat. And for the U-boat captains, it was a massacre. January 1942, 62 ships sunk. February 1942, 73 ships sunk. March 1942, 95 ships sunk. The SS Dixie Arrow, torpedoed in broad daylight off Cape Hatteras. The SS Norlavore, sunk so close to shore that residents in Virginia Beach could watch the 29 survivors struggle in the water. The Allies were losing the Battle of the Atlantic, and losing it badly. Ships were being sunk faster than America and Britain could possibly build them. Back at Bletchley, the mood was one of despair. The professor and Doc Keane were already at the drawing board. They knew what they had to build. A 4-rotor bombe. A super bombe. A machine with 4 spindles, not 3, running at 4 times the speed, capable of testing this new, monstrous search space. But they were locked out. They were missing the one, single, vital piece of information, the internal wiring. To build a bombe, you had to know the exact wiring path of the new 4th rotor. Without it, you were just guessing. You were as blind as the sonar operator in the North Atlantic. They could not deduce it. They could not guess it. The mathematics was too vast. The order came down from the very highest levels of the Admiralty. It was grim. It was simple. And it was not a request. You must capture one. Logic had failed. The professor's puzzle-solving was not enough. The key to breaking shark would not be found in a quiet, damp hut in Buckinghamshire. It would have to be torn, by force, from the belly of a sinking U-boat, in the middle of the icy, deadly Atlantic. October 30th, 1942, 22:30 p.m. 70 miles north of Port Said, Egypt. The order was known as a pinch, a cold, calculated, and borderline suicidal mission. The goal, not to sink a U-boat, but to disable it. To force it to the surface, board it while it was sinking, and rip its secrets from its hull before it vanished into the abyss. For 10 months, the shark blackout has been absolute. The Atlantic is a killing field. Bletchley Park is starving. Tonight, the hunt is on. The sonar operator on HMS Petard, a P-class destroyer, hears it. A faint, metallic whisper. Contact, sir. Bearing red 40, range 2,000 yards. The target is U-559. The captain's order is ice. Deploy pattern. Full spread. You are now inside U-559. The world is chaos. The first charges rupture the aft ballast tanks. The U-boat lurches, nose down. Red emergency lights flicker, illuminating the faces of terrified young sailors. The air is thick with the smell of battery acid and raw sewage. The captain, Kapitan Lieutenant Heitmann, screams for an emergency surface. Blasen, blasen, blow all tanks, surface, surface. HMS Petard is on them in an instant, its searchlight pinning the submarine in a brilliant white cone. Rafts, abandon ship, abandon ship. The German crew pours out of the hatch, leaping into the cold, oil-slicked water, their hands in the air. They have done their duty. They have set the scuttling charges. The seacocks are open. Their boat is dying. They believe its secrets are safe. But they have made one fatal mistake. On the bridge of HMS Petard, First Lieutenant Tony Fasson watches the submarine. It is not sinking fast enough. He turns to his men. This is the moment. Boarding party. Away! 3 men leap from the boat onto the canted, slippery deck of the U-boat. First Lieutenant Tony Fasson, able seaman Colin Grazier, and a 16-year-old kid, a canteen assistant named Tommy Brown, who had lied about his age to join the Navy. The U-boat is groaning, water is pouring over its decks. It has minutes, maybe seconds. Fasson and Grazier, pistols in hand, kick open the conning tower hatch. They are met by a wall of darkness and the roar of incoming water. They plunge down the ladder into the control room. The water is frigid, black, and filled with floating debris, charts, and bread. They have no idea if any Germans are still below. They have no idea if the scuttling charges are about to explode. "The radio room! Find the radio room!" Fasson yells over the noise. They wade, shoulder deep, through the compartments. Fasson's torch beam lands on it. A 4-rotor Enigma machine, bolted to the table, and next to it, slotted into a wooden rack, the books. The Wetterkursschlüssel, weather short signal book, and the Kurz signal heft, short signal book. These are not just code books. These are the keys to the kingdom. They contain the specific, day-to-day settings for the new 4-rotor machine. Grazier smashes the machine with his pistol butt, trying to free it. It won't budge. "No time." Fasson shouts, "The books! Get the books!" They grab the armfuls of priceless paper. They are soaked, but they are intact. "Here!" Fasson is halfway up the ladder, chest deep in water. He shoves the wet, pulpy books up to the boy. "Take them! Take them!" Brown grabs the first bundle and scrambles back to the whaleboat, securing it. He returns to the hatch. "More!" Grazier is below Fasson, passing up a second armload. Fasson hands them up. And then the U-boat lurches. The submarine's bow pitches up, and it begins its final, vertical plunge. Fasson is still on the ladder. Grazier is still in the darkness below. "Get back!" Fasson screams at the boy. It is the last word anyone ever hears him say. The conning tower disappears beneath the waves, sucking the air with it. Lieutenant Tony Fasson and able seaman Colin Grazier are gone, entombed in the U-boat they had just raided. In the whaleboat, one 6-year-old Tommy Brown sits, soaking wet, clutching a bundle of soggy paper. He is the only survivor of the boarding party. He has the keys to Shark. The soggy, salt-stained books from U-559 arrive at Bletchley Park. They are not treated as paper. They are treated as relics. Specialists in Hut 4 painstakingly dry each page, separating the pulpy masses of ink and paper. But they are intact, and they contain everything. They have the internal wiring for the new 4th rotor. They have the short signal book, which gives them the cribs, and they have the weather short key, which gives them the settings. For Alan Turing and Doc Keane, it is the final, missing piece of the puzzle. The 4-rotor super bombs, which had been stalled on the design floor, now go into frantic, round-the-clock production. This is not the Agamemnon. This is a new breed. Taller, denser, and powered by 4 massive spindles. They are no longer bronze-coloured. They are painted a stark, industrial grey. The Wrens, now highly trained specialists, feed them their new menus, derived from the captured books. December 13th, 1942, 11:30 a.m. A 4-rotor bomb stops. The Wren checks the indicator drums. She writes down the settings. She sends the slip. In Hut 8, a codebreaker sets his captured 4-rotor Enigma. He types in the day's first Shark intercept, Anfahrt, approach, grouper, group, file, arrow. He is reading the orders for Wolfpack Arrow. The Shark blackout, which had lasted 10 agonizing months and cost the Allies over 1.5 million tons of shipping, is over. For Admiral Dönitz, the hunter has just become the hunted. The effect is not gradual. It is immediate, and it is catastrophic for the U-boats. Suddenly, Allied destroyers are no longer blindly sweeping the ocean. They are vectored in. They are steaming with perfect, chilling accuracy to grid squares that should be empty. Convoys, which had been sailing into traps, now make tiny, inexplicable course corrections hours in advance, slipping past the waiting wolfpacks in the dead of night. For the U-boat captains, it is a time of sheer terror. They are surfacing to charge their batteries, only to find a Sunderland flying boat appearing from the clouds exactly above them. They are rendezvousing with their milch cow supply subs, only to find 3 destroyers waiting for them. The ocean, their hunting ground, has become a field of ghosts. May 1943, known to the Germans as Schwarze Mai, Black May. Bletchley Park is now reading shark traffic in near real time, often just hours after it is sent. The 4-rotor bombs are humming 24 hours a day in purpose-built factories across the country. In that 1 month, the Allies, guided by Ultra, sink 41 U-boats, a full 25% of Dönitz's entire frontline force. The slaughter is so total, so incomprehensible, that on May 24th, Admiral Dönitz gives the unthinkable order. He pulls every last U-boat out of the North Atlantic. The Battle of the Atlantic, the single, longest, most critical campaign of the entire war, is over. It has been won. It was won not by a battleship. It was won by a professor's logical diagram, by a child's puzzle. It was won by the sillies of bored radio operators, by the genius of Gordon Welchman, by the grit of Doc Keane, and by the clattering, high-speed, logical, contradiction-finding engine they built together. And it was won by the impossible, final courage of 2 men, Tony Fasson and Colin Grazier, who died in the dark, and a 6-year-old boy, Tommy Brown, who made it home with the key. After the war, the secret was kept. The bombs, over 200 of them, were not put in a museum. They were ordered destroyed, smashed, burned, and disassembled. The men and women of Bletchley Park went back to their lives as academics, clerks, and debutantes, bound by the Official Secrets Act, never to speak of what they had done. For 30 years, the world believed the war was won only by guns and by valor. But in the quiet of a damp wicker hut, a shy professor, a man who simply loved to solve puzzles, had built a machine that could think. He had looked at a wall 159 quintillion bricks high, and, by an impossible number of years, he had found a way through.